Hello, my name is Mike and I'm a product manager with the Aidbox FHIR platform. Today, I will guide you through the major updates in Aidbox that our team has delivered recently. I hope you can see my screen. Please raise your hand if you see my screen. So let me start with a few announcements that we consider vital for Aidbox and the FHIR ecosystem itself. Starting from the previous release, Aidbox development licenses are available for all people interested in learning FHIR, experimenting with FHIR, doing some POC or pilot projects or whatever. Aidbox development licenses are free of charge. They have some restrictions, including the database size. We allocate only 2 gigabytes for this, but this limit can be extended upon the request. Just contact us and we can do it for your instance. And we do not allow to store any PHI data in the Aidbox instance. But as is an Aidbox that provides the core functionalities, including FHIR data storage, all the APIs, access control layers, user management, and other stuff that is in Aidbox. So you might start experimenting with Aidbox and the FHIR at no cost, and we won't require anything from you. So spread the word, let other people know, and we are very welcome all the FHIR community to play with it. Also, our team has delivered a new simplified way to launch an Aidbox. There is no need to go to the Aidbox user portal to get a license and then to specify a license in the .env file and to start Aidbox. Right now, you can just create a directory and just put a simple command script that will launch Aidbox. And once Aidbox is launched, you can choose an activation method to do it. As you see, there is an option to activate Aidbox. So this is very simple. If you have a license or if your colleague or whoever has sent you an Aidbox license, you can just put it here and Aidbox will launch. There's also one more option to use an Aidbox ID. So basically, right now, Aidbox ID is a single place to manage all the products from the health system. You can use Aidbox ID authorized via Aidbox user portal and just activate Aidbox. We recently posted a video how to launch Aidbox within 90 seconds. Believe me, even I can launch Aidbox locally extremely fast. Okay, let's move forward. After the webinar, we will share the slides, and as you see, there are links to the documentation that will guide you through the process and that will explain all the stuff. Yeah, that's it. One of the major recent Aidbox updates is connected to Aidbox as a FHIR server configuration. We have introduced multiple ways to configure Aidbox with FHIR implementation guides. So basically, as you know, an IG contains FHIR artifacts, including profiles and extensions, code systems and value sets, search parameters, and other. So right now, Aidbox doesn't require you to specify static packages outside of Aidbox as it was with. Right now, it allows you to do it from the Aidbox UI with no Aidbox restart. And there are several sources to get the FHIR IG package from. The first one is Aidbox FHIR IG repository. We are maintaining a repository of IGs that now contains more than 500 FHIR IG packages that you can just specify in Aidbox UI, and Aidbox will resolve all the dependencies and load to Aidbox. It will allow you to introspect profiles, including differential snapshots and the profiles on FHIR schema and the structure definition of the IG. And it will allow you to pre-expand the value sets and code systems that are used here. Besides, if there's no in our repository, you can just put a public URL to an IG package and Aidbox will load it. Also, there is an option to specify a locally stored IG package in Aidbox, and Aidbox will just load it. So there's no way to fail here. The content that Aidbox FHIR IG repository provides is, as I mentioned, profiles and extensions. The interesting fact is that Aidbox right now can use can load structure definitions, profiles structure definitions via REST API. So if you want just to post a custom profile in Aidbox that was authored and delivered as a structure definition, you can easily do it. As I also mentioned, code systems and value sets and search parameters. We don't provide any mechanisms to load example data, but there are initiatives in the FHIR ecosystem and the utilities to do it. So you can just use these utilities to pull the data. As you see, there are some links to related materials. So there is a guide how to load FHIR IGs. And there's a blog post that we have published recently on our website that describes the pros and cons of each way. Okay, let's go further. Alongside with the configuration of Aidbox at runtime, we have also delivered some UI upgrades to make the user experience much better than it was. So the first part is the settings step in Aidbox UI. There's no need to go outside of a Aidbox UI. You just might want to put a settings tab and you will see grouped Aidbox configurations. So the first group is devoted to info that contains version, channel, commit, license expiration time, license name, and license type. The second is the only clickable element for now that is called Aidbox UI. It enables the new experimental UI that our team has been working on. I will tell about it a bit later. Then there's a group of settings at the web configuration, the database configuration, the FHIR configuration, and some other minor configurations that you might have in Aidbox instance. It might be not only easy to understand how your instance is configured, but also it might help to discover new features that Aidbox has, and there's no need to go to the documentation. Our team will continue working on enhancing this tab, and right now we are working on making these configurations editable, so it will be much easier. The second update that our team has delivered in Aidbox UI is a resource browser that allows you to see all the resource type that you have in Aidbox. Also, it allows you to browse in a simplified fashion through specific resources. It allows you to search. It allows you to introspect and validate these resources against specific profiles. For example, if you have multiple versions of US core loaded to Aidbox, you might want to validate a specific resource against this profile and to check whether it's valid or not. And it also allows you to see search parameters that relate to this resource type. This also allows you to create new resource instances, and very soon it will allow you to add in the resources. So we will keep working. We will also keep working on this resource browser to make it a first-class citizen of Aidbox UI and to provide the first-class user experience here. The next update that we have in Aidbox, public builder of view definitions that are defined in the SQL on FHIR spec. For those who are not acquainted with SQL on FHIR, basically it's a spec powered by companies like Health Samurai, CSIRO, those guys are doing Pathling, Google, Databricks, and to standardize how FHIR data that is heavily nested can be represented in tabular views using standardized tooling. And that's where this spec comes from, is that a lot of companies are working with FHIR data, and a lot of companies have introduced their own ways to flatten the data. But we united together to define the standardized DSL based on FHIR paths to define these view definitions that are portable. And if you have authored a view definition resource in one FHIR server, you might use them in any other FHIR server, basically producing a flattened view of FHIR data. And in the recent release, one of our team published a public view definition builder that basically makes creating view definition resources much easier and simpler using with autocompletes, and that definitely guides and helps to create view definitions that might be used in Aidbox as a first FHIR server that supported the spec. But you can also export this view definition and to put it in any other FHIR server. I see there's a question. How do we mask them in views that are produced in SQL on FHIR engine, right? So right now, my answer is we do not mask this data. But once you decide which columns and which rows to show, you might want to omit these specific patient IDs, for example. You might want not to choose them. They are dynamic. So you might want to get a given family, gender, date of birth, or any other columns that will not contain such information. This data is synthetic. Did I answer your question, dear anonymous attendee? I hope yes. Okay, this ViewDefiniton Builder is publicly available, and we encourage you to go and check it. So the next big part of enhancements in Aidbox is connected to access control. Our team has introduced one more engine that allows to provide granular access to data. It's called label-based access control. So basically, it's a way to categorize FHIR data and to segment it using predefined vocabularies, including sensitivity and confidentiality or purpose of use or whatever, and to assign specific labels to users that interact with this data and to resources, to bundles, resources, or resource elements. So as you see on the table, there is a condition resource. Each element of this condition resource has an assigned label. And there are 3 users who have low, normal, and restricted, and access to restricted information. So if a user has access only to almost public information, he will see only a recorded day of a condition. If a user has access to restricted information, he or she will see all the elements in the resource. But what's more interesting is that Aidbox can define how it and what information it provides to the end user. You might agree that a user who gets the answer might want to get the data masked, or the user might want just not to see the data. So if I get only recorded data in the condition, that's all what I want to see. When we talk about masking, we mask the data with the data absent reason extension that is defined in FHIR. And the user will see, instead of this access, a user will see the extensions, and understanding that the elements exist, but the user has no access to it. One more configuration that is in place is to strip security labels from the response. And it's a huge question about data confidentiality, because the presence of the security labels might be considered as a data leakage. So it's up to you to define whether Aidbox will provide it or not. Anyway, there's a link to documentation to check this new engine. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to talk to us about it. I see a question, and while I'm reading the question, I'm inviting one more speaker of today's webinar. Her name is Maria, and she will give a brief overview of what Aidbox Forms team has delivered recently. Maria, are you here?
Okay, thank you. So I see that I have enough time for my demo, so let's get started. I'm product manager of Aidbox Forms, and I would like to tell you the story of our journey. So several years ago, with the same team, we developed a product. It was a billing system for laboratories, and the heart of this product was a form that was similar to CMS 1500 form that collected billing data and looked familiar to billers. Later, we developed a form editor to design and to describe the form layer by layer using DSA, and immediately to see the result and to test it. So, and now here we are, and we developed the Aidbox Forms. So Aidbox Forms is the pluggable model for healthcare vendors who need to create digital medical form, survey, questionnaire for clinical workflows. It allows you to create digital form, embed them in applications, and capture the data in a FHIR format and store them FHIR storage, in our case in Aidbox. So our solution follows the FHIR SDC implementation guide that outlines how to collect the data using FHIR questionnaire and FHIR questionnaire response resource. So in a FHIR questionnaire, and completed forms are represented by a FHIR questionnaire response resource. All these resources stored within Aidbox. So Aidbox Forms provides you the UI form builder for creating form without the form rendering engine, FHIR storage with the FHIR API and FHIR SDC API, form gallery with almost 3,000 ready-to-use forms. So we have a lot of updates for 6 months, and probably I will try to tell about some of them, and I would like to show a demo. So let me share. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So on the start page, well done. You can see that the questionnaire was imported successfully. So you can use as a template. Yes, you can some fields, you can add additional widgets. You can change layout or add additional logic. After that, you can save this questionnaire and use it. So the second option is to create the form from scratch. So you are taken to the UI Builder interface. Let me tell you a bit this workspace. On the left side, there is a work area where you can set the structure of the form. So you can add some widgets, you can set the settings. On the right side, the form is rendered in real time, and you can test it by filling out directly. At the bottom, there is a debugger where you can see the questionnaire definition, and also you can see how the data will be extracted to other FHIR resources on the data extraction tab. The toolbar contains buttons with various actions. So you can see the form preview. So you can save the form, publish the form, and also you can load the form template. You can see how the form will adapt different devices. So let's create the form. So okay, we just need to specify the form title. For example, it will be like a widget case form. And you need to specify its URL. Now it's generated automatically, and also you need to specify the version. I already have some versions of this form, so I just specify like version. Yeah. When are you developing the form? It's in the draft status. So, and as soon as you completed the developing process, you just need to click on the publish, and the status will be changed on the active, and you can use this form in production. So let's create the group with calculations with the calculation rule. We just default rule. We can use the choice matrix for this purpose. So we just need to change the label. For example, it will be like question 1, yeah, and the options. For example, it can be yes and options no. Also, we need to add the field with the calculation rule. So for this purpose, we need to choose, for example, integer. So let's give the label 4, and we need to write the calculation expression. So, but we can use the basic template for this purpose. For example, yes, this template. Yeah, and I just need to change the link ID. And this template link ID is the unique ID for an item in questionnaire. So I just need to take the ID for each field and put here. So we can set that the field is read only, and also we can add a tooltip for this field. For example, this is this option. So yeah, let's change the layout a little bit. Okay, and let's test this form. Sorry, let's check. Sometimes I can do mistakes. I just need to check this again. Okay, probably sounds okay. Let's try to create another group. So let's create the group we enable. I hope it will work better than the first. Okay. Let's give the name for this. So we just need to add some fields. So the first field will be, for example, patient name. Second field, date of birthday, and we can change the type of the field. For example, date. The last field will be question. So, for example, are you pregnant? And let's change the type to. Okay, I can use radio button for this, yeah, and listen options, yes and no. Okay, and let's add to this field, let's add the condition. For example, if the question gender is equal to female, so this field will be appear. So let's change the layout a little bit to arrange all fields in one line. And let's test this form. For example, my date of birth and gender male. I'm wrong, I'm not male, I'm female. Let's change and I get the question. So we can set some fields are required, for example. Okay, what you can save the group. The custom component can be used to share the content, such as a question or group of questions across the multiple forms. So, and there are two options how you can use the component in the form. We are reference to the component or inline this component into the form. But when are you designing the form, you can use the component as a reference. So it allows you to make changes on the fly to the component. These changes up to all forms that reference. To save the component, we just need to click on this button, give the name, URL, and save this component. So I have some components. Let's add, for example, component with and let's add the component with value set. So if I want, I can inline this component into the form. I just need to click on this button and it will be inline into the form. So also we have a group with a value set, open choice and signature. So we just put the date and can choose allergy from this value. But if we didn't find the appropriate option, we can specify our own. So for this purpose, I have already loaded value set, so I just can choose any value set. So for this purpose, I need, So you can turn on the outline and see how it will render on the preview form. So this feature is convenient to use if the form is very large and you need to navigate through this form. But you also can create a multiple page form. For this purpose, you just need to use a page widget and put every group into this inside. So let's do this. Turn off again. So we can see that each group is a separate page. So, and another feature, you can customize the form. So you can use a ready-made template for this purpose, or you can create your own template. So this template will be saved in the custom resource in the database. The available settings include adding brand image, changing color, font, and text on the bottoms. So probably that's all. When you have designed form, it can be used in various ways. For example, we can take another form. You can set some parameters. You can choose the theme for the form and share the generated link, for example. You can form via iframe in your application. Okay, let's open this link and we can see the form. Okay, so when the form was submitted as a parameter, generate link operation, and also we implemented the basic form printing or generation. Probably that's all, and if we have time, I would like to tell a couple of words about our public form builder and form gallery. So that is available at this link. So you can play with a form builder to create, test, and share forms for free. No complex setups or authorization are needed. Template. You can use this form as a template, or you can create the form from scratch. So same builder. You can load your FHIR questionnaire and see how it will be rendered. You can test your logic in this builder, and once you finish the designing process, you just can download as the JSON file, or you can generate a shareable link and provide this link to collaborate with others. So that's all.
I see a bunch
Thank you.
of questions about forms, so I think we can take a couple of them. So what other options to embed this form builder editor into our visitors' products? So they're, for example, they're a software provider, so how can they embed the form builder?
Oh, you mean form builder, not form, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. So now it will be available on next release. Yeah, now we are working on it, and you can embed the form builder as a web component to other applications.
Is there a training you provide online on how to create forms? So I think that we should take care of this and to make a webinar fully devoted to form building. So that's what we will do very soon. And so can we build these forms theme with dev system? Not sure what is a dev system. Maria, any thoughts here?
No.
For me also no. If we're talking about dev Aidboxes, so Aidbox with dev licenses. So these functionality is fully available in Aidbox with dev licenses. So there are no additional cost for you to play with it. So feel free to launch Aidbox and play with forms. How can you speed building these forms or code-based building these forms team? How can you speed building these forms? So again,
of course, you can use a component. You can create the library with components and speed the process. Yeah. And it's also not only speed the developing process, it's also make forms consistent and reduce the number of errors.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And the final question on forms, is there a way to generate the JavaScript code after creating the form? Or maybe you have it in a roadmap.
Sorry, I understand.
No, a question from an anonymous attendee, but if you share this question with us after the webinar, we are definitely looking forward to talking with you a bit more on this. And I know that there are some plans in the dev team on doing this more JavaScript friendly. So we'll see. That's it. That's almost it on the Aidbox updates. And I have the final one. Thank you, Maria. I will share my screen for the almost final slide. So as you know, we've been working on CDA FHIR bidirectional converter for quite a long. And right now we have 5 customers in production that has fully tested and implemented and double tested and double confirmed the converter works. In the recent release, we have updated an opportunity to redefine the conversion rule by the users. Right now, it can be done in Zen projects, but we are Aidbox configuration projects using Zen, but we will be migrating this functionality as simpler configuration and a new paradigm of settings in Aidbox. And we have fully covered all the sections within the CCD documents. So if you would like to test, we have a public converter that allows you to view the resources themselves, to validate them, and to introspect FHIR bundle and vice versa. We also have a documentation here, so please feel free to research it and reach out to us if you would want to use it within an Aidbox, or we also have an option to use this converter as a standalone product. So that's I see we have some time for questions. Please feel free to give them. There's a question on how do you remove PIDs in FHIR in JSON format, or how can we remove mask this FHIR in JSON format? So when we are talking about FHIR data, right now there's no ready to use solution in Aidbox to de-identify the data. But we have it on our roadmap and we still haven't prioritized it yet. So if you're an existing customer, please reach out to us to talk about it more. If not, anyway, please reach out to us because we would like to dig into your use cases, because there are several ways to do this, and I'm not sure if of the existing instruments will at least partially work for you. So the one way that I have mentioned is to build the views in Postgres that will just emit the sensitive data and then to mask specific elements if there is a necessity. But again, we would like to dig a bit deeper into the use case. There was one more question on SQL on FHIR. How do you deal with the complex SQL joins with Aidbox SQL on FHIR? That's very easy because FHIR spec itself defines how to represent FHIR resources in tabular projections. So basically it shows and it explains the FHIR server which column and line to put a specific element. And once you have a tabular view, you can do whatever SQL allows. So it's not about SQL on FHIR, it's about SQL interface to work with this. So you can do basically anything that you can do with tables in SQL ecosystem once you have flattened the FHIR resources. Are there any modules for image and documents MongoDB storage within Aidbox? Aidbox has integration with blob stores that allows you to store images and documents. You can check our documentations in here. And if you share your use case with us, we'll be happy to guide you how to do it on your side. And again, you can always get an Aidbox with development licenses to experiment yourself if you don't want to talk to us beforehand. That's also definitely a way. Any other? That's mostly it. Please raise your hand if you still have a question that we have not answered. Nope, that's it. Then thank you for joining today's event. If you Oh, I see one hand. Okay. If you have any questions that were not covered during this webinar, please reach out to us. We are happy to talk more. If you would like to play with Aidbox with no commitments, please feel free to do it. The development licenses are available. If you have any use cases that you might want us to work with you, that's also definitely an option. Please reach out to us. We are happy to talk about it. There's a race, and do you want to get promoted to give the question or to put this question to the queue? Okay, so share more information on billing. Right now, the billing module is a work in progress. We have an X12, several endpoints from the X12 converter. They are publicly available in the documentation. Right now, the module itself, again, it's a work in progress. Not sure if I can give you a bit more updates, but drop us a line and we are happy to connect you to the stakeholders to talk about it more. So thank you so much for joining today's meeting. We'll send a follow-up with the slides, and we'll be waiting for updates from you. Happy Aidboxing.
Thank you.